My DIL took my ring for a party, worth $3 million. Then, I'm Auntie Jasmine, a 54-year-old black woman who built her jewelry business from nothing, and my daughter-in-law took my $3 million diamond ring to wear to some fancy party. What she didn't know was that ring had a GPS tracker embedded in it after my insurance company's recommendation, and when she tried to sell it to pay off her secret gambling debts, I was already 3 steps ahead with the FBI. By the time that party ended, she was in handcuffs, my son had divorce papers, and her entire scheme to steal my life's work came crashing down in front of 200 guests. But let me back up, because this story starts way before that night. The morning after I discovered what she'd done, I sat at my kitchen table, the same scarred oak table where I'd taught my son Marcus to do his homework, where I'd built my first jewelry designs, where I'd cried after my husband David passed away 10 years ago. The morning light filtered through the curtains, catching dust motes in the air. My coffee had gone cold in the cup. The grandfather clock in the hallway, David's grandfather's clock, ticked away the seconds. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Each second felt like an eternity. My hands trembled as I held the insurance inventory list. There in black and white. Custom platinum ring, 15-carat center diamond, Burmese rubies appraised value, $3,200,000. The empty velvet box sat on the table in front of me, mocking me. Had I been such a fool, I'd welcomed that girl into my family with open arms, loved her like my own daughter, trusted her with everything. And this was how she repaid me. My throat felt tight. The room seemed to spin slightly. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. How could I have been so blind? I whispered to the empty kitchen. I thought back to 5 years ago when Marcus first brought Amber home for Thanksgiving. She'd been so sweet then, or so I thought. 26 years old, beautiful, with that practiced smile and those carefully chosen words. She wore a modest dress, brought me flowers, complimented my cooking. "Mrs. Daniels," she'd said that first night, "this is the best sweet potato pie I've ever tasted. Marcus told me you were an amazing cook, but this is something else." I'd been charmed. Who wouldn't be? I remembered her wedding to Marcus 3 years ago. I'd spared no expense. $50,000 for the reception at the Ritz-Carlton. Another $20,000 for her dress. I'd wanted everything perfect for my only son's wedding. Amber had cried real tears, I thought then, when she hugged me after the ceremony. "Thank you for everything, Auntie Jasmine," she'd whispered. "I promise I'll make Marcus happy. I promise I'll be the daughter you never had." Those words echoed in my mind now, bitter as poison. I'd taken her shopping, included her in my jewelry business events, introduced her to my clients and friends. When she quit her job as a receptionist, saying she wanted to focus on building a family with Marcus, I'd supported that decision. I'd even given her an allowance $2,000 a month so she wouldn't feel dependent on my son. "You're too good to us, Auntie J," she'd say, kissing my cheek. Too good. That was the problem, wasn't it? Last Christmas, just 10 months ago, we'd all gathered at my house. My jewelry showroom and workshop took up the entire first floor of my 4-story brownstone in Harlem. The building I'd bought 25 years ago when the neighborhood was still struggling, before it became fashionable again. I'd invited my whole family, my sister Patricia, my nephew Jerome, my cousin Diane and her kids, and of course Marcus and Amber. The house had been full of laughter and music. I'd made my famous honey-glazed ham, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, and 3 different kinds of pie. Amber had helped me in the kitchen, or pretended to help anyway, mostly drinking wine and chatting. "I'm so lucky to have you as my mother-in-law," she'd said, refilling her glass. "Most people dread their in-laws, but you're special, Auntie Jasmine." After dinner, I'd brought out my jewelry collection to show everyone. I did this every year, it was tradition. My pieces had been featured in Vogue, worn by celebrities, displayed in museums. I'd built my business from nothing, starting with a tiny table at a street market in 1995, working my way up to having clients who paid 6 figures for custom pieces. The ring she stole was my masterpiece. I'd designed it myself 3 years ago. The center stone was a 15-carat Golconda diamond, so rare and flawless it seemed to glow from within. I'd surrounded it with blood-red Burmese rubies, each one carefully selected. The platinum setting had taken me 6 months to perfect, with intricate scrollwork that told a story. My story, from poverty to success, from heartbreak to triumph. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," Amber had breathed, holding it up to the light. "My insurance company made me install a GPS tracker in it," I'd explained. "They insisted after the appraisal came back at over $3 million. It's so small you can't even see it, embedded right in the setting." I'd watched her face carefully when I said that. Had there been a flicker of something in her eyes? Calculation? Greed? Or was I only seeing it now in hindsight? "Why don't you wear it more often?" she'd asked. "It's not for wearing, baby, it's my legacy piece. When I'm gone, this goes to Marcus and eventually to his children." Our children, I'd meant. The grandchildren I hoped they'd give me. How did we get here? How did a happy family Christmas turn into this nightmare? Now it all felt like a lie. The first sign something was wrong came 6 weeks ago in late August. Marcus had called me, his voice tight with stress. "Mom, can I come over? I need to talk to you." "Of course, baby, what's wrong?" "I'll explain when I get there." 20 minutes later, he was sitting at this same kitchen table, his head in his hands. My son, 32 years old, a successful architect, strong and capable, looked broken. "It's Amber," he said. "I found credit card statements. She spent over $40,000 in the last 3 months." My blood ran cold. 40,000 on what? That's the thing I don't know. Cash advances, mostly, some charges at casinos. "Mom, I think she has a gambling problem." I forced myself to stay calm. "Have you talked to her about it?" "She denies everything. Says I'm being controlling, that she's allowed to spend money, that I'm treating her like a child." He looked up at me with David's eyes, my late husband's warm brown eyes that could see into your soul. "Mom, we're supposed to be saving for a house. We're supposed to be trying for kids, but she's draining our accounts." "What do you want to do?" I asked carefully. "I don't know, I love her, but I can't live like this." We talked for 2 hours that night. I advised him to suggest counseling to try to work things out. I still believed in Amber then. I thought maybe she was struggling with something, that she needed help, not judgment. I was wrong. 2 weeks after that conversation, I had lunch with my friend Diane from church. We met at Sylvia's, our usual spot. "How's married life treating Marcus?" Diane asked as we waited for our food. "It's been challenging lately," I admitted, then told her about the credit card situation. Diane's face grew serious. "Jasmine, I hate to tell you this, but I saw Amber last week at the Borgata in Atlantic City. She was at the high-stakes poker tables, betting thousands of dollars a hand." The room started spinning. "You're sure it was her?" "Positive. I almost went over to say hi, but she was so focused on the game, and there was this man with her, not Marcus, and I didn't want to intrude." "What man?" "I don't know, honey. Older guy, maybe 50, wore a lot of gold jewelry. They seemed close." I thanked Diane, but I barely tasted my lunch. My mind was racing. An older man, gold jewelry, gambling debts. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the city sounds outside my window. Something was very wrong. I could feel it in my bones, that intuition that comes from 54 years of living, from surviving poverty and racism and loss, from building something from nothing. The next day, I did something I'd never done before. I went to Marcus and Amber's apartment in Brooklyn while I knew they'd both be at work. I still had a key from when I'd helped them move in. The apartment was a mess unusual for Amber, who was normally obsessively neat. Mail piled on the counter, dishes in the sink, but that wasn't what caught my attention. In the bedroom, I found a shoebox under the bed. Inside were pawn tickets, jewelry pawn tickets. My heart sank as I read them. Diamond earrings, gold bracelet, pearl necklace, all pieces I'd given Amber as gifts. There must be an explanation, I told myself, but my hands shook as I photographed each ticket with my phone. Then I found her laptop, carelessly left open on the desk. The screen was unlocked, open to her email. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew it was a violation of privacy. But something compelled me to sit down and scroll through her inbox. What I found made me sick. Emails to someone named Carlo with subject lines like "need another loan" and "can you wire me 10K?" And then there it was, dated just 3 days ago. "Carlo, I know I owe you $200K, but I have a plan. My mother-in-law has a ring worth over $3 million. She's letting me borrow it for the Grayson Foundation charity gala next month. Once I have it, I can either sell it or use it as collateral. This will solve everything. Trust me." The reply from Carlo: "You better not screw this up, Amber. My patience is running out. You know what happens to people who don't pay me back." I sat there, frozen, reading it over and over. The words blurred. My hands trembled so hard I had to set the phone down. $200,000 in debt. To someone who sounded dangerous. And she was planning to steal my ring, my masterpiece, my legacy, to pay off her gambling debts. The betrayal was crushing, but something else stirred in me too. Rage. Pure, cold rage. I carefully photographed every email, every pawn ticket, every piece of evidence I could find. Then I locked up the apartment and left. It all started to make sense then. The sweetness. The compliments. The Auntie Jasmine this and Auntie Jay that. She'd been playing me from the beginning. Not because she loved my son, but because she saw an opportunity. A rich mother-in-law with valuable jewelry and too much trust. My family, my real family, built on blood and love and sacrifice, was a lie to her. Just a mark, a score. That night I made a decision. I could have confronted her privately. I could have told Marcus and let him handle it. I could have simply refused to lend her the ring. But that wouldn't be enough. That wouldn't teach her the lesson she needed to learn. That wouldn't protect my son or my legacy or the business I'd spent 30 years building. If Amber wanted war, she would have war. The next morning, I called my friend Bernard Thompson. Bernard and I went way back. We'd grown up in the same neighborhood in the Bronx, back when things were rough. He'd become a private investigator after leaving the police force, and he owed me several favors. "Bernie," I said when he answered, "I need your help. Can we meet?" An hour later, we sat in a quiet coffee shop in Midtown. I handed him an envelope containing printouts of everything I'd found. "I need to know everything about this Carlo person," I said. "And I need to know exactly how deep Amber is in with him. Can you do that?" Bernard read through the documents, his expression growing grimmer with each page. "Jasmine, this is serious. This Carlo guy, if he's who I think he is, Carlo Messina, he's connected. Loan shark, possibly worse. How much does she owe him? 200,000 according to the emails." He whistled low. "And she thinks she's going to steal your ring to pay him back." "That's the plan. What do you want me to do?" "Find out everything. I'll pay whatever it takes. I want to know where she gambles, how often, who she's with. I want to know about Carlo, about her debts, about every lie she's ever told. And Bernie, I need this done quietly. She can't know I'm investigating." "I'll find the truth, Mrs. Daniels," he said, using my formal name the way he always did when things got serious. What Bernard discovered over the next 3 weeks was worse than I'd imagined. Amber wasn't just a casual gambler. She was an addict, and she'd been lying to everyone for years. Even before she met Marcus, she'd accumulated debts. Her receptionist job had actually ended when she was fired for stealing from the petty cash. The inheritance from her grandmother, she'd mentioned early in their relationship, never existed. She'd targeted my son specifically. Bernie found evidence that she'd researched our family before ever meeting Marcus at that supposed chance encounter at an art gallery opening. She'd known about my jewelry business, about my success, about the valuable pieces in my collection. "It wasn't love," Bernie told me as we sat in his office, reviewing his findings. "It was a con from day one." The documents spread across his desk painted a damning picture. Gambling debts at 6 different casinos, loans from 3 separate loan sharks, pawn tickets for dozens of items, and a history of similar schemes targeting other men from wealthy families. But the worst part was what he'd found about Carlo Messina. The man wasn't just a loan shark. He was connected to organized crime, under federal investigation for racketeering and extortion. "If Amber tries to steal your ring and give it to him, you're not just dealing with theft," Bernie explained. "You're dealing with organized crime. That ring is worth enough to attract serious attention." "Then we need to involve the FBI, I said. Bernie nodded. "I already made some calls. I have a contact, Special Agent Lisa Chen. She's been building a case against Messina for 2 years. This could be the break she needs." 3 days later, I sat in a federal building in downtown Manhattan, in a small conference room with Agent Chen and 2 other FBI investigators. I'd brought everything. Bernie's report, the emails, the financial documents, the pawn tickets. "Mrs. Daniels," Agent Chen said after reviewing everything, "I appreciate you coming forward with this. You're right, this is bigger than just a theft. If Amber succeeds in stealing this ring and delivering it to Messina, it could help us finally nail him." "What do you mean, if she succeeds?" I asked. Agent Chen smiled. "I mean, we're going to let her think she's succeeding. The Grayson Foundation Charity Gala is in 2 weeks, correct?" "Yes, and she thinks you're going to lend her the ring for that event. She hasn't asked yet, but according to the emails Bernie found, that's her plan. Here's what we're going to do. Agent Chen leaned forward. You're going to offer to lend her the ring. We're going to monitor everything, where she takes it, who she meets with, what she does with it. We'll have agents watching her 24/7. And when she tries to hand it over to Messina, we'll have all the evidence we need to arrest them both. What about my ring? I asked. It's worth over $3 million. We'll have it under surveillance every second. I promise you, Mrs. Daniels, we won't let anything happen to it. And once this is over, you'll get it back, and Amber will face federal charges for theft, conspiracy, and working with organized crime. I thought about my son, about how this would devastate him. But I thought about my business too, about everything I'd built, about all the other people Amber might hurt if I didn't stop her now. Okay, I said. Let's do it. The next week was the hardest acting job of my life. I had to pretend everything was normal. I had dinner with Marcus and Amber, smiled at her across the table, listened to her false words of affection. Auntie Jasmine, I was thinking, she said over dessert. The Grayson Gala is coming up. Marcus is receiving an award for his work on the new community center design. That's wonderful, baby, I said to Marcus, squeezing his hand. I was so proud of my son and so angry that she'd used him. I know it's a lot to ask, Amber continued, her voice honey-sweet, but I was wondering. Could I possibly borrow one of your pieces for the event? Something special. I want to look amazing for Marcus's big night. There it was, the trap baiting itself. I pretended to consider it. Well, I don't usually lend out my pieces, but this is a special occasion. Were you thinking of something specific? Her eyes lit up with barely concealed greed. Maybe, that platinum ring, the one with the big diamond and the rubies, it would go perfectly with my dress. That's my most valuable piece, sweetheart. I know, I'd be so careful with it, I promise. Please, Auntie J, for Marcus. She was good, I had to give her that, using my son's accomplishment to manipulate me. All right, I said finally, but you have to promise to take care of it. That ring is my legacy. Oh, thank you, she jumped up and hugged me. Thank you so much, Auntie Jasmine. I promise I'll guard it with my life. Guard it with her life. The irony was almost funny. Over the next week, Agent Chen and her team prepared everything. They installed additional surveillance equipment in my brownstone. They briefed me on what to say and do. They showed me the tiny GPS tracker in the ring, already there from my insurance company, and explained how they'd enhanced it with their own monitoring system. We'll know exactly where the ring is at all times, Agent Chen assured me. We'll have agents at the gala, agents following Amber, agents ready to move the moment she makes contact with Messina. What should I do? I asked. Go to the gala, support your son, act natural, we'll handle everything else. The day before the gala, Amber came to my brownstone to pick up the ring. Agent Chen and 2 other agents were in my workshop, hidden, monitoring everything. Here you go, baby, I said, handing her the velvet box. Take care of it. I will, I promise. She opened the box, and I watched her eyes widen at the sight of the ring, the way the afternoon light made the diamond seem to burn with inner fire. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. It's one of a kind, I said, just like family. She hugged me, and I forced myself not to pull away. You're the best, Auntie J. I'm so lucky to have you. After she left, I sat down heavily on my design bench. Agent Chen emerged from the back room. You did great, Mrs. Daniels. I feel sick, I admitted. She's so good at lying. If I didn't know better, even now I'd believe her. That's what makes people like Amber dangerous, Agent Chen said. They're predators who have learned to mimic human emotions perfectly. But you're stopping her. You're protecting your son and anyone else she might have hurt in the future. The night of the Grayson Foundation Charity Gala was crisp and clear. September in New York, the best time of year. I dressed carefully in a black evening gown, one of my own designs naturally, and a sapphire necklace from my personal collection. Marcus picked me up in a town car, looking handsome in his tuxedo. Where's Amber? I asked as I slid into the seat. She's meeting us there, he said. She had some errands to run. Errands, right. The gala was held at the Plaza Hotel in the Grand Ballroom. As we walked in, I scanned the crowd, looking for the FBI agents I knew were there. Agent Chen had shown me photos of her team so I'd recognize them. There, a woman in a red dress by the bar. There, a man in a tuxedo near the entrance. And there another agent pretending to be a photographer. I felt a strange calm settle over me. Everything was in place. Marcus introduced me to his colleagues, and I made small talk, all while watching the entrance. Finally, 45 minutes late, Amber arrived. She looked stunning, I had to admit. Her emerald green dress was designer, probably bought with money she didn't have. And on her right hand, catching every light in the room, was my ring. She swept over to us, kissed Marcus on the cheek, and took his arm. "Auntie Jasmine, you look beautiful," she said to me. "So do you, honey, and my ring looks gorgeous on you. Thank you again for letting me borrow it. Everyone's already complimenting it." We sat at our table, and Marcus received his award. I watched him give his speech, so proud and articulate, talking about the importance of community spaces and accessible design. My son, who'd grown up in a rough neighborhood, now making buildings that would help other families like ours had been. And the whole time, Amber kept checking her phone under the table. At 9:30, she excused herself to use the restroom. I watched her go, then felt my own phone buzz. A text from Agent Chen. "She's on the move. Stay put." I forced myself to remain in my seat, sipping champagne, chatting with the other guests at our table. Inside, my heart was racing. 20 minutes passed. 30. Marcus started to look concerned. "Where is she?" he muttered. "How long does it take to use the bathroom?" "Maybe she ran into someone she knows," I suggested, though we both knew that was unlikely. At 10 o'clock, my phone buzzed again. "Coming back. She made the exchange in the parking garage. We have it all on camera. Messina is in custody." Heading to arrest Amber now. "I need some air," I said, standing up. "Marcus, come with me." "Mom, please, baby, trust me." I led him out to the lobby near the entrance. Agent Chen appeared beside us, her badge now visible on her belt. "Marcus Daniels?" she asked. "Yes." My son looked confused, frightened. "I'm Special Agent Chen, FBI. I need you to stay calm. We're about to arrest your wife." What are you talking about?" I took his hand. "Baby, I need you to listen. There's something you need to know." Before I could explain, 2 other agents entered the ballroom. A moment later, they emerged with Amber between them, her hands cuffed behind her back. She wasn't wearing my ring anymore. When she saw us, her face went white, then red, then twisted with rage. "You!" she screamed at me. "You set me up!" Agent Chen stepped forward. "Amber Daniels, you're under arrest for grand larceny, conspiracy to commit fraud, and working with a known criminal organization." "This is insane," Amber shrieked. "Marcus, tell them this is crazy." My son just stood there, frozen, watching his wife in handcuffs. "What did you do, Amber?" "What did I do? What did she do?" Amber jerked her head toward me. "Your mother is crazy. She trapped me." "Where's her ring?" Marcus asked quietly. Amber's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I don't. You gave it to Carlo Messina 45 minutes ago in the parking garage," Agent Chen said calmly. "We have video footage of the entire transaction. We also have your emails to Messina discussing your plan to steal the ring, your gambling debts totaling over $200,000, and evidence that you've been running similar scams on other people for years." The color drained from Amber's face completely. Marcus turned to look at me. "Mom, you knew about this." "For 3 weeks," I said softly. "Baby, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you, but the FBI asked me to stay quiet so they could build their case." "We've arrested Carlo Messina as well," Agent Chen continued. "He's being charged with loan sharking, extortion, and racketeering. Your wife's cooperation in this case will help us put away a major organized crime figure." "I want a lawyer," Amber said suddenly. "I'm not saying anything else without a lawyer." "That's your right," Agent Chen agreed. "Take her away." As the agents led Amber toward the exit, she twisted around to glare at me. "You vindictive bitch, you ruined everything." "No, baby," I called after her. "You ruined it yourself, the moment you decided to steal from family." The ballroom had gone completely silent. 200 guests watched as Amber was escorted out. Whispers started immediately. Phones came out, people taking photos, texting, calling their friends. By morning, this would be all over social media. The wife arrested at a charity gala, the stolen $3 million ring, the FBI raid. Amber's name would be destroyed, and honestly, she deserved every bit of it. Marcus stood beside me, his face in his hands. "I can't believe this. I can't believe I didn't see it." "She was good at hiding it, baby. She fooled all of us at first." Agent Chen approached with an evidence bag. Inside was my ring, gleaming as beautifully as ever. "We'll need to keep this for the trial," she said apologetically. "But after that, it's yours again, Mrs. Daniels." "Thank you, Agent Chen, for everything," she smiled. "Thank you. You helped us catch a big fish tonight. Messina's been on our radar for years. Your ring was the bait that finally got him." After she left, Marcus and I stood in the lobby of the plaza, surrounded by curious onlookers. "I need to go home," he said quietly. "Come stay with me tonight," I said. "You shouldn't be alone." He nodded, and we left together. Back at my brownstone, I made us both tea. We sat at the kitchen table, that same table where this all started, and I told him everything. About finding the emails, about hiring Bernie, about working with the FBI, about watching him receive his award while knowing his wife was in the parking garage, betraying him, betraying us all. "She never loved me," he said finally, his voice broken. "Did she?" "I don't know, baby, maybe at first, or maybe it was all a lie from the beginning." "But that's not your fault. You loved her honestly. You were a good husband. She's the one who chose to throw it all away. All those times she called you Auntie Jasmine, acted like she cared about family." He shook his head. "It was all fake." "Yes," I said gently, "it was." We sat in silence for a long time, listening to the clock tick. Finally, Marcus asked, "What happens now? Now you heal, now you move on, now you build a life that doesn't have room for liars and thieves." "And Amber?" "Amber is going to prison. The FBI has her on multiple federal charges, and even if she makes bail, she still owes money to very dangerous people. Her life as she knew it is over." "Good," Marcus said, and the bitterness in his voice broke my heart. But I understood it. Over the next few months, everything came crashing down on Amber exactly as it should have. The federal charges were just the beginning. She was denied bail because the judge considered her a flight risk. The evidence was overwhelming. Videos of her handing my ring to Carlo Messina, emails detailing her plan, financial records showing her gambling debts, testimony from casino employees who confirmed her problem gambling. Carlo Messina, facing his own mountain of charges, tried to cut a deal by testifying against Amber and others in his network. It turned out Amber wasn't his only mark. He'd been lending money to desperate gamblers for years, then using them to commit crimes to pay him back. The case made national news. "Daughter-in-law caught in FBI sting after stealing $3 million ring" was the headline on CNN. My jewelry business got a surge of publicity, not all of it welcome, but at least it was honest publicity. Marcus filed for divorce immediately. New York is a no-fault divorce state, but with Amber in federal custody and facing prison time, she didn't contest it. The divorce was final within 6 months. Her family tried to contact me once. Her mother called, crying, begging me to drop the charges. "I can't drop federal charges," I told her gently. "And even if I could, I wouldn't. Your daughter is a thief and a con artist. She needs to face consequences. She has a problem. She needs help, not prison. She needed help before she started stealing and lying. Now she needs to be held accountable. I'm sorry, but that's the truth." The trial happened 8 months after the gala. I testified, explaining the ring's value and significance, describing how I discovered Amber's plan. Marcus testified too, his voice steady as he described finding out about her debts and her lies. Amber's lawyer tried to paint her as a victim, a gambling addict manipulated by Carlo Messina, a young woman in over her head. But the evidence was too strong. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 6 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. She'd be eligible for parole after serving 4 years, but even then, she'd have a federal conviction on her record for the rest of her life. As they led her away from the courtroom, she didn't look at me, didn't look at Marcus, just stared straight ahead, her face blank. "Some say I was too harsh," I told my sister Patricia a few weeks after the sentencing. We were having lunch at Sylvia's again, the place where Diane had first told me about seeing Amber at the casino. "Too harsh," Patricia snorted. "She tried to steal a $3 million ring. She betrayed Marcus. She lied to all of us." "I know, but some people think I should have just kicked her out, let Marcus handle it quietly. They say involving the FBI was overkill. Those people are fools." "You did the right thing, Jasmine. You protected your family and your business, and you helped catch a real criminal in the process." Patricia squeezed my hand. "David would be proud of you." The mention of my late husband made my eyes sting with tears. "You think so? I know so. He always said you were the strongest woman he'd ever met. You proved it." I got my ring back 6 months after the trial concluded. Agent Chen personally delivered it to my brownstone. "It's been quite a journey," she said as she handed me the velvet box. I opened it, and there it was, my masterpiece, unchanged, as beautiful as ever. "Thank you for everything, Agent Chen." Call me Lisa, please, and thank you, Mrs. Daniels. The Messina case was a huge win for us. We've dismantled a major loan sharking operation, and we couldn't have done it without you." After she left, I sat in my workshop, turning the ring over in my hands. The GPS tracker was still embedded in the setting. I decided to leave it there, just in case. I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the investigation, the confrontation, the trial. Had I been too harsh? Had I taken revenge too far? No. I'd protected myself, my son, and my legacy. I'd stopped a predator who would have hurt others if I'd let her go free. I'd helped law enforcement take down a criminal organization. I'd done exactly what needed to be done. Looking back now, I realize that betrayal often comes from the people we trust most. That's what makes it cut so deep. We open our hearts and our homes to people, welcome them into our families, treat them like our own blood, and sometimes they see that not as a gift but as an opportunity. Amber looked at my love and my generosity and thought, how can I use this to get what I want? She didn't see a family. She saw marks. She didn't see a mother-in-law who cared about her. She saw someone with valuable jewelry and too much trust. But here's the universal truth about betrayal that I learned through all of this. Betrayers always underestimate the people they betray. They think kindness means weakness. They think trust means blindness. They think that because you loved them, you won't have the strength to bring them to justice. They're wrong. Some people say I was cruel for setting the trap, for working with the FBI, for letting Amber dig her own grave instead of just confronting her privately. They say family should handle things quietly, that I humiliated her unnecessarily. To those people, I say this. Amber stopped being family the moment she decided to steal from us. She made her choice. I just made sure she faced the consequences. You have to protect yourself, even from people who call you auntie. Maybe especially from those people, because they're the ones who can hurt you most. Today, 3 years after that night at the Plaza Hotel, I'm doing better than ever. My business is thriving. The publicity from the case actually brought in new clients who appreciate my story of strength and resilience. My ring sits in a secure vault now, taken out only for special occasions. Marcus has recovered too. He's dating someone new, a kindergarten teacher named Rachel who's genuine and sweet and treats him like he deserves to be treated. They take it slow, and I'm grateful for that. My son needed time to heal, and Rachel respects that. We don't talk about Amber much anymore. She's still in prison, with 2 more years left on her sentence. I heard through the grapevine that she's taking classes there, trying to rehabilitate herself. I hope that's true. I hope she uses this time to become a better person. But I don't think about her often. She doesn't deserve space in my thoughts. My sister Patricia asks me sometimes if I have any regrets. No, I tell her honestly. I protected what was mine. I stood up for myself. I refused to be a victim. The ring sits in my vault, a symbol of everything I've built, everything I've survived, everything I am. And now it's also a reminder, never underestimate an auntie who's been around long enough to know when someone's playing games. Because I'm Auntie Jasmine, and I didn't build an empire by being anybody's fool. Last week, I wore the ring to a charity auction, a different charity, a different venue, but another opportunity to support my community. People asked about it, about the story behind it, and I told them the truth. Not all of it, some things stay private, but enough. This ring represents my life's work, I said to a reporter who was covering the event. It represents every sacrifice I made, every obstacle I overcame, every dream I achieved. Someone tried to take it from me once, but they learned an important lesson. You don't steal from Auntie Jasmine. The reporter laughed, and so did the people around us. But I wasn't joking. I'm 54 years old now. I've been through poverty and loss. I've buried a husband. I've built a business from nothing. I've raised a son who makes me proud every day. I've survived betrayal and come out stronger. And if anyone else wants to try me, well, they'll learn the same lesson Amber learned. I sit at my kitchen table now, that same scarred oak table where so much of this story unfolded, and I smile. The morning light streams through the windows. My coffee is hot. The clock ticks steadily, marking time that belongs to me and no one else. Life is good. Life is peaceful. Life is mine. And my $3 million ring. It's exactly where it belongs, safe, protected, and waiting for the day when I can pass it down to Marcus's children if he has them. The real family. The ones who will treasure it not for its monetary value, but for what it represents. resilience, strength, and the unbreakable bonds of true family love. Some people might think this story is about revenge. Maybe it is a little. But more than that, it's about justice. It's about refusing to be a victim. It's about standing up for yourself even when the person betraying you is someone you loved. It's about being Auntie Jasmine, a woman who knows her worth and refuses to let anyone diminish it. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.